today I want to finish the first makeover of the machine, and so the first step for me is to work on the back side. The main issue today, I think, is this container for the Tragant, because the screw here is broken, so I need to drill it out and make a new thread. And as you probably can see, I try to show you, inside here it's really rusted. So I'm gonna clean that roughly and then paint it with Hammerit so I can stop the rusting. I won't give it a thorough makeover by sandblasting it or so, because I think it's not worth it. This container is of really heavy metal and it's not necessary to prevent rusting through or so, but I want to stop the rust and give the next owner a better feeling when using it, because the rust will give a brownish color to the liquid in there and then a brownish color to the thread, and that's something I want to avoid. So I will clean it, give it a spray from inside, not from outside, because I want to keep the original color, although it's a bit worn apart, but I think it has a good character, and so I will just do that from inside. This part goes into the container, the thread goes through here and through this hole. I need to clean that too, smoothen it so the thread won't be damaged, and then it goes into the container. Here you see it's totally oily at the moment because I sprayed it with WD-40 to get rid of all the old grease and stuff. This is to lead the thread through here. This is a moving part and the thread goes through here, and this goes onto the wheel. There's a bearing here and that's quite stuck. I can't move it at all, so I need to have a look at that if I have to replace it or if it's just stuck because it's old, and I think that will be the case. This is the big wheel for the thread, and that's a beauty because I'm lucky because this is aluminium, cast aluminium. You can have a machine with the older bakelite, which is a former plastic, but I prefer the aluminium because it's more solid, and the bakelite tends to look dirty. I don't like that very much, especially when you think about the fact that your container might be rusty and you don't really know how the thread looks like, and on the aluminium you can see that really good if it's polished, and I need to polish that and then it'll look beautiful. Here you maybe can see, I don't know if the color is maybe there in the light you can see it. This is a copper wing nut, and that will look beautiful when it's polished. For the skillful craftsman this might not be interesting at all, but for those who are not experienced in metalwork, I show you anyway what I do with the thread. And so what you need is you need a tool to give it a little dent, otherwise you won't be able to drill the screws. I give it a tap with that, and now I got a nice little dent in here. I try to show you, you can see it there, and this will be the point where the drill should have a grip, and I'll show you in a second how that works. To drill a hole like that you will need a drill press, and as you can see I got a really huge drill press that's some 100 kilo heavy, and I was able to buy it second-hand very cheaply, and maybe you don't have one like that, but if you want to drill a hole like that, use a drill press, otherwise you will damage the hole, and then later on you won't be able to cut a nice thread in there. Okay, now you see the setup with the drill press and a 2.5 millimeter drill in here. That's too small for an M4 thread I want to cut later on, but I will start with a smaller hole and take the next step when I did that, and I add some cutting oil which will cool the whole thing and give it a better glide. You need a drill that cuts slowly. For an M4 thread I need a 3.3mm hole. I get no idea what this will mean in inch, but we are in the metric system, of course, in Germany, so you have to live with this information, but be aware of the fact that you need a reasonably smaller drill for your thread. But anyway, this is not the main topic of this video, so I just show you what to do. That's it. To cut a thread in here, I usually would use a tool like this and cut the thread by hand, but because this lever is here, I can't do it. So I would take my power drill, and it's a fast tool, that's a nice tool, and drill it with that. And for the second hole was heavily rusted, I recut that thread too, so I got two nice threads, and the screws will work better. The next thing to have a look at after roughly cleaning this is the bearing here. And I feel that it is stuck, and so I just, oh no, it was just lightly stuck, and I can move it. So I will give it a bit more of spray oil, and then I think I'll be happy with it again. Because I just wanted to, yeah, now it goes quite easy, and everything else here is moving really good. You can see that here there's a red mark, and this is the place where later on, when the whole machine is set up, you need to give it a bit of oil, and it should be a non-acidic oil, and maybe I later show you a recommendation for that. This is my recommendation for the European customers, because Liquimoli is a German brand. Over in America you will have your own brands, of course, and this is an oil which I can purchase here for a quite good price on Amazon, and it's non-acidic, and it won't do any damage to the machine later on. As you can see here, the old oil the former owner used left a lot of dirt, with, I think, combined with dust or something, on the machine. And what I do now is I use a light oil like WD-40, spray it on just a little bit of cloth, then I apply it on the wheel and just give the machine some turns, and that'll help me to get rid of a lot of the oil. Remounting this part is really easy. It just goes on here. It's got two holes and two holes here, so I just put it on there. Got the two screws for that, and just screw it back on. This wheel doesn't look that good, and it's actually a machined wheel and has a machined surface, and I don't have a lathe, I give it a makeover by screwing it up with a bolt and a nut, and then I get it in the drill press and send it over. I show you. As you can see, now I got a shiny and nice surface on both sides, and so I'm happy with that. I won't give the whole machine a makeover like this, but in some parts I think it's nicer to do an even better job. The assembly of this part goes like this. With this machine came a little leather disc sitting here between this part here and the disc, and the original one at this place is a bigger one, so I replaced that because I had one, put it on here. Then you got a leather disc with a metal part on it, which slides on here. You see that this bolt here is flattened on one side, and there's a flat part here, it goes on there. And this metal part is to protect the leather from the spring. So you got to put this on here, then you got a nut and a second nut to keep it from being turned from the bolt. So you secure these against each other, and then this is perfect. And you got a nut on here, and later on when I assemble the whole thing with the Tragant container, this goes here. But not at the moment, because I have to give it a makeover. Rafflenbeul highly recommends to put a drop of oil between the leather and the disc on both sides, because the idea of it is that it's gliding. The wheel has to glide between the two leathers, and the pressure is built by the spring and the nuts. And if there's no oil between here, this starts being stuck, and then the whole movement of the machine will stop. So if it doesn't work properly, don't forget to oil it here and there. For painting the inside of the Tragant container, I will use Hammerite. This is a spray paint, and I take the silver color because in the inside of the container you will be able to see any dirt or so more easily. And this spray paint is really cool in preventing metal from rusting. Some hours later you can see that I spray painted the inside. The spray paint is all but perfect, but it'll do the job and prevent the inside from further rusting, so I'm able to mount it now. There are two screws, and they go here and there, of course, so that's really easy. The next step is to mount this bar here. That'll hold the tread later on. On this side it's really easy, it's just a nut, and that's it. On the other side it's not complicated, but a bit more to think about. First is you put on a leather disc, a small one, that'll run here, and then you put the thread on, Next thing will be a leather disc again. Then you got this metal washer here, spring. And the spring is a special spring. The original one has a little bar here that slides into a slot here. And this is to keep the spring from turning with the thread. I just interrupted the video because I grabbed this nut here, which is obviously from another machine because it has a bigger thread. And this is the original part, and I just threw it in the box, and now I found out that it has a smaller thread, so I mounted this one. The next for me will be to give the machine a go, because everything is set up so far, but the tank is not dry yet, so I won't moisten the thread. I let it run dry over here and give it a go. Today I want to adjust the loop finger on the other side of the machine, and for this it's not necessary to sew with a moistened thread. I can do that with the dry one.